All right, ladies and gentlemen, look, if you are sad that you are now freaking out, just remember Donna comes up with the show notes.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. And joining me is Donda. And she is only from Cardin.
Did you just say Donda?
I think I did. It wasn't in my head that way, but for some reason my tongue did like a double take. Okay, so I stuttered. Why are you making fun
Wakanda.
of me? Well, I was there again looking at the thing on my screen saying Cardun, and I said Donda.
You just stumble over everything, don't you?
I know, man. You shouldn't make fun of me like that. I have a problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, we won't talk about our problems. We'll be here for a long time.
Really, especially yours.
Look at yeah. All right, so cool. We're going to dive into some pretty good stuff today. Everybody wants to know about what does OCR want from me.
What do you want from me?
And so you've got some firsthand and probably second and third hand accounts of some things, enough to scare the mess out of you about investigations.
To have you properly informed.
Yeah. So it's for me, as I was reading through it, it was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of worse than I thought. I don't want anybody asking these questions of me.
Yeah. It's as you read through it, you get more and more tense. That's why I kind of started the article that goes on the website. It happens out of the blue. Dun-dun.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
So for those of you listening, grab a Valium or a alcoholic beverage of choice, and let's dive into this.
But first,
yeah, tell us where you're going to be at, because it's coming to an end for the summer.
Well, yeah. Well, let's see. By the time this one comes out, we'll be down to our classes that we're teaching.
Yes.
So June 20th, 21st, 27th, 28th, I'm teaching Formed Approves Healthcare Cybersecurity Officer live webinar workshop. That's a lot of wah-wah.
Yeah.
If you want to sign up and you use the coupon code or promo code Grindle20, you get 20% off. And then the big thing happens.
Dun, dun,
Julie.
Dun. Yeah, this one actually, I'll be there. I don't get to say that often.
I know, really?
Yeah, the live HIPAA boot camp in Tucker, Georgia.
You still ain't got it right. I just got to teach you how to say it. It's because I went to a proper ladies' college in the South. I am a cornerstone polished.
You're something, all right. So that'll be July 19th and 20th. Find out more information at thehipaabootcamp.com. And I think the early bird pricing is now in session. You missed out on the super early bird.
You missed out on the worm.
Yeah, missed out on the super early bird. So don't miss out on the early bird pricing. Get in there. Do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Pull over on the side of the road. Purchase your tickets now.
Pull over on the side of the road. Yes, and you drive off the road. No, pull over and go to the HIPAA boot camp, because we do have early bird pricing through July 9th.
Yep. So, but if you wait, because it will
could
fill
happen
up
again.
We do have limited seating.
True that. Yeah, and we're getting on a roll now with it. So yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. If you don't get in soon.
Yeah, I thought about the limited seating.
I know, I forget about it, but you're right. We've talked about this many times. We have to do that. So that everyone gets a equal amount of one-on-one time.
Yep.
So this, we needed to cover something first, because David, as we mentioned before, we send each other messages constantly. It's middle of the night, first thing in the morning, I can be out at a dinner party. Bloom, here comes something stupid from David. Other times it's very interesting, though. And this was an interesting one.
When do I send you stuff that are stupid?
We don't need to go into it. I mean, I know I do it right back at you.
Yeah. So, and Donna replies back like, I'm at a dinner party. I'm like, I don't care.
I cannot answer you right now.
Yeah. You need to read this immediately. Yeah. So, so I'm on Facebook and as people will do sometimes, I'm scrolling through the feed and I'm always posting stuff about compliance and cybersecurity and all that. But every so often, when you log in, you kind of see your feed first usually. And I usually scroll through the first few, whatever. But something
Above the fold.
Yes, there you go. Something for some reason caught my eye. It was a person who said something to the effect of, is this guy a scammer? It's in big letters. So, of course, that caught my eye. And supposedly it was some guy had asked a girl, hey, you're pretty cute, whatever. Let's talk more. And for whatever reason, they said, is this guy, a scammer or is it spam or whatever?
And clearly it did mention his name. Let's get that out there.
Yeah. It had a link to his profile on 9 yards. Everything about the guy was there.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. So I scrolled down to like 2 or 3 comments and I see this. Yeah. It's like, okay. So the person's response was, no, it is not spam. It's a real guy that tried to message me before too. Okay. So what? Now here's the fun part. He actually is a patient of ours at the dentist, but I put him in his place real quick. But he is a stalker and a pervert. So I was like, what? You can't say that?
Yeah. David, he sends it to me and I'm like, are you going to reply to that? Because that's wrong.
Yeah. And of course, my response was, I didn't send this to you to give me work to do. I sent it to you to laugh at.
I know.
But I did my civic duty. I did inform the person, look, this is a no-no. Can't do that. So, the whole HIPAA violation thing and, not hard to figure out what dentist you work for, obviously.
Yep.
All that good stuff. The reply I got was, I have edited it. That's hard to say, edited it.
Yeah.
I was just informing a friend and I never included any one name. I don't know why they can't spell correctly. I never included any one name in my comment, but thank you for letting me know. Okay.
So all that matters is my comment. The fact that it's tied to something that has the details in it, not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously some training needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. So I told you needed to let the dentist know, but you said that's too much work for you.
Yeah, I just got too many other things going on.
It's really hard for us to navigate healthcare.
Yeah.
With the knowledge that we have of how wrong things are. So,
yeah, it was, I guess my due diligence kind of ended right there with that.
You at least mitigated the damage.
Yeah, I let her know. Part of me was like, well, if I let the dentist know, I'm going to have to show that person, dentist, whatever, what's going on or what I'm talking about, possibly. And, I don't want to get anybody in trouble necessarily.
See, that's what everybody says. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm just going to let them violate the stalker and pervert's privacy.
I know. It's just a stalker and a pervert. Does it matter? I mean, do they get equal protection under the HIPAA law?
Apparently they don't.
So anyway, no, I didn't follow through any further. So shame on me. But I did my fair share of HIPAA training for the day. So maybe she'll document that. She'll document that as her security awareness training.
And if you want to criticize David for not going in any further, you point that criticism at David, not me. I got attacked one time because I mentioned that somebody had asked my advice about a scenario, and they're like, you need to turn everybody in. You need to report this. You need to do that. It's not about money and everything's, it's this. And I was like, I just said somebody asked my advice. I don't know what they did.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, we can't go around turning in every person that we see is not doing things right, because then we would not have any clients.
Well, yeah, and it's like, if I go turn everybody in, how am I ever going to fix them?
Yeah. But that does bring us into our topic today.
It does. It's a perfect segue.
We're talking about OCR investigations. And, first of all, we need to point out that statistically, there's two ways that you're most likely to get into an investigation. One is that you have a data breach. The other is just what we're talking about, that somebody is going to file a complaint about your business. It's either going to be external or maybe even come from an employee that is working there. It could be from an employee that's separated employment, and then they're not very happy with you.
Yeah, it could be from somebody reading Facebook posts.
It could be from somebody reading a Facebook post and decides, because I don't know, somebody could have saw this, could have been the guy and been like, hey, this is a violation of my HIPAA rights. I'm going to turn this in. Don't know. Mm-hmm. It can happen.
Well, and people are becoming more educated.
Educated, yeah.
Education.
Another thing too is, I think even though this person edited their post, I think, I'm not a Facebook guru, but I think that even the pre-edited portions remains, that you can still see what was put in before the edit, I believe.
Well, I'm not going to go research it and have it hanging over my head.
I'm done with it.
I have advised you, and still I'm going to, it's a tough place to be when you're in this business. There's the people that are the purity ones, that think, you should turn everybody in and it's about privacy and patient safety. But my guess is they would not be happy if they got a speeding ticket for going 3 miles an hour over the speed limit either. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough call. And, there's times where I appreciate a police officer that recognizes that, that the sign is in the trees versus the one who gives you a ticket anyway because you should have known that the sign was there in the trees.
Mm-hmm. You should have. You should be able to tell by the distance of the white lines on the road what the speed limit was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the lines were that way. I was going so fast, they all look like solid lines.
Well, yeah. Those things happen. So, knowing that this happens, and by the way, we also have talked about before that we had absolutely certain information that there were investigations where IT companies, I don't know whether they reached their wits' end or what, but they would file a complaint with HHS because either they felt like they were being hung out to dry and they're protecting themselves, mm-hmm. or they get so frustrated and they walk away and report somebody. But they do know, and they're able to provide a lot of details. So it could come from your IT vendor, or it could come from, well, basically any other vendor that you use. It could come from an employee of one of those vendors who leaves, mm-hmm. Because the vendor won't turn you in because they're worried about taking care of their client or whatever, or they only care about money, which is what I was accused of for giving somebody advice. But if you look at it and say, how many different ways could I be turned in? I can't even begin to dream them all up. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, I know just on the IT side, anybody that you're having sign a business associate agreement and you're asking them to take liability for things, and then when they say you need to do these things so that we can lower your liability, and they go, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah. So you're up in my liability.
Right. So I can see where people are doing that. Even I don't know that I would ever go to that extent. I think I would just drop them as a client before I do that. But I can see where the frustration can come all the way around, especially when every other day you're looking at all these different client files that are flying around in these data breaches. And then you obviously, even without reading anything other than the news report, you can tell they were not doing anything or not enough to protect the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where these investigations become very tense. And what prompted me, there were actually two things that prompted me to do this particular episode. One is I was speaking at a conference and I gave them just a few examples of the things that OCR would ask for. Mm-hmm. And then they started asking more questions about OCR asking an OCR. And so I was like, you know what? I've got some redacted actual letters and requests for data. And I'll send them to you if you want it. Just send me an email. Well, wow, have I got a lot of requests for that. And then just this week, I get a call from a practice looking for, I need help with my HIPAA program. And I was like, here we are. We help you with HIPAA. I did, turn them on to the podcast. But we appreciate the fact that their attorney, who is helping them with an investigation, referred them to us and said, you need their help. So, but here's what the problem is that someone filed a complaint about a social media thing.
Imagine that.
We've wrapped it all back together. Then, the social media thing happened. They file a complaint. They get a letter, which we'll explain in a minute what that feels like. And the comment that she made at that time reminded me, I really need to do this. And it was, our lawyer thinks the issue on the complaint's not a problem. So they've looked at the social media thing and, it sounds like it's probably okay. And then she says, but they look into everything, not just that one issue. We're missing a lot of documentation that had nothing to do with the complaint. And I think that's something that people don't understand is that when you are investigated, they look at your program, not at this one little problem. So if David turned in the dentist for what he saw, the dentist could get a letter very much like these people did. It's almost exactly the same situation, except theirs appears to not be a problem. And David's dentist, we can say, clearly a problem. Mm-hmm. But especially in these kind of one-off social media where, hello, we all know what's going on out there. You get that one trigger and then you get the call, you get the letter is actually what you get. So imagine here we are, we're recording on Friday. You're having a pretty good day. You're trying to ease into a summertime weekend. Fridays are pretty much the day that offices start clearing out at about 2 during the summer especially. And Friday afternoon traffic during the summer is better that you go on time. Yeah. But at any rate, you get this letter. So imagine that you get this letter. It comes in today's mail. Mm-hmm. And this, as far as I know, most of them have always said this. They'll either, but they start the same way. You ready? You Go ahead. You read that first little part. You go ahead and read it.
It starts with please.
Please. I love the fact that all of the OCR documentation requests, all their letters, they say please more than any other word. They're trying to be polite.
Yeah, it starts out, too bad I ruined your day. Actually, it says,
I apologize for having to tell you this.
Please be advised that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, Office for Civil Rights, OCR, received a complaint on X date, alleging that your company is not in compliance with the federal standards for privacy and individual identifiable health information and or the security standards for the protection of electronic protected health information. Whew. And it gives the subpart sections of the law.
The legal references.
Yeah.
And also known as the privacy and security
privacy and security rule. And the breach notification rule. Blah, 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 blah. Specifically, the complaint alleged that. Oh, my goodness.
And then it goes into exactly what they've learned. And the only difference is if you have a breach, it says, please be advised that blah, blah, blah has received your breach notification in reference to blah, 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 and specifically yada, yada, yada. And it'll go into those same details. And then the best part.
Here's the part I don't like. please submit to your investigator your responses to the enclosed data request within, drumroll please, 14 business days from receipt of this letter.
Yeah. So, and I've just now gotten it at 2:00 as I'm getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
On a Friday afternoon. Talk about ruining your weekend.
I would be like, can we close the office next week so it's not a business day? Will that give me more time?
Can I declare it a holiday?
Yeah. So then they have to number each response and correspond that number with the data request. And then please be sure to produce the documents in compliance with the request set forth herein.
Yes. And these are just excerpts of the letter, and it gives you all of these instructions. And it's basically saying, don't you go trying to destroy stuff. Don't you go trying to make stuff up. Tell me what you got. Don't you say, I don't have it, somebody else does. It's your job to go get it. And they put all of that in there, all of those instructions. And then I love at that very end part about if we're unable to resolve, David, go ahead, hit it.
If we are unable to resolve this matter voluntarily, and if OCR's investigation results in a finding that the covered entity has failed to comply with the applicable provisions of the privacy and security rules and or the breach notification rules, HHS may initiate formal enforcement action which may result in the imposition of civil money penalties or take other actions consistent with the OCR's jurisdiction.
That's what I'm talking about. So that's your cover letter, right?
Yeah. Well, it started with please, and then it ended with we're going to hit you right where it hurts.
Yeah. It's like, don't be messing with us. And one of the things that, we hear the most when OCR does presentations, whether it's the ones done by leadership or the ones that are done in local events with the investigators, is the important thing to note is don't ignore us.
Right.
Don't ignore us. We're asking very nicely. Don't ignore us. Don't blow us off. And don't, half ask your response.
Yeah. I mean, it says right there, either we're going to resolve this voluntarily or we'll resolve it involuntarily.
Yeah. Either way, we get our way.
It's like I used to tell people, you're going to go one way or the other. Which way is back in my prior life.
Yeah. An enforcement fella, as you were.
Yeah.
So once you get through that shock and you say, okay, well, this can't be too bad.
I don't know of anybody that's not freaking out by now.
I know, really. Then you get to the data request page because they give you this letter and they give you an instruction page and they give you a fact sheet. And then you get to the request for information.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen one with less than, I don't know, there's going to be at least 15 or 20 questions that they ask for information. That's always fun.
Yeah, you're not getting no time off anytime soon.
Yeah, no, really. And so this is kind of what the person that called me this week that pretty much is signing all of our proposals because they've realized they couldn't answer these questions. And they thought, by the way, they had somebody in charge of HIPAA and they thought that person had it covered. So they believed they were okay until somebody started asking these questions. So just because, so-and-so handles that and they do this and they do that, you might want to go ask them these questions if you are assuming.
Yeah. So if you would have talked to them 3 weeks ago, you might have heard we got HIPAA covered.
Yeah. But then you need to be very specific because that's what OCR will be. If somebody files that complaint or you have to report a breach that gets you on the radar. Everybody else worries about audits. I'm like, those are the least of your worries.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But I did notice there was nowhere in here where it said this investigation will be made easy.
Really, HIPAA's not easy.
Nor is the investigation.
Or they don't say, this is easy. You should have already done it. Just flip a switch, run a report. That's all we want.
Yeah, we're simply asking for documentation.
So they'll ask for all kinds of things. And these are examples. And of course, the way it's worded and the way everything's asked is going to be directly related to what prompted the investigation. And then there's some general stuff they basically are asking everybody now. So it starts with, please, everything is please. Provide a copy of the investigative report, a written description of the covered entity's response to mitigate the issue, and any corroborating documentation such as investigative reports, police reports, etc.
Okay.
Step 1.
I'm already freaking out.
Because who wrote all that down? Who wrote all that down and can take care of that for us? And so then it says, please.
Please. Again.
Please again, provide a copy of the notification letters sent to the affected individuals. Also indicate if substitute notice was provided and evidence of such notice. The evidence should indicate that notice was provided without unreasonable delay and within the requirements of 45 CFR, blah, blah, blah. Please provide written explanation for any delay in notification. So we want you to show that you did it. And if you can show that you did it, you need to tell us why you couldn't do it.
Right.
You can't just say, my bad. Which is what, some people have tried to claim. They're like, oh, well, we thought it was done because we told somebody else to do it. And then somebody else said that we didn't tell them to do it. So our bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't care about that. They also didn't care when somebody said, well, we didn't do it because law enforcement told us not to. Well, where do you have documentation law enforcement told us not to? Well, we don't. But we told them what happened, and they said they were looking into it. Doesn't count. They didn't tell you anything.
Didn't happen.
Right. So now we're dealing with just documenting what happened and what you did about it.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we slip into another area.
Dun, dun, dun.
And slowly they turned.
Oh, boy.
Please
provide those made easy policy and procedure templates that you require.
Yeah. And it'll give you very specific ones or very general ones, depending on the scenario, whatever got them to see you. So it could be records disposal. It could be minimum necessary. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to give me the policies and procedures that are required.
Mm-hmm.
And then another, please, indicate the dates of implementation and any redrafting or revision. Sometimes they'll say that.
Yeah.
So now you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, huh?
No, I'm still freaking out.
Yeah. Now, can you imagine you get the letter, you're standing there, you look at the letter, you're standing at your desk ready to go. Somebody hands it to you. You look at the letter and you stop. You put your stuff down. You read through it. You flip to the next page. You sit down. You flip to another page. You call in people. You share everything. You flip to the last page and everybody's got their head in their hand. How are we going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we're only on 3. And we're not going to give you 20 of them. We're just going to give you enough to make you realize what's required.
Right.
So we've done that. That's the policies and procedures relating to whatever the complaint or the issue they recognized was. Now, you get the next one.
Yeah, this one is, please describe the covered entity's method for assigning and enforcing appropriate access to PHI. Please produce the documentation of such method, including policies and procedures. Also, please indicate the date of implementation and any redrafting.
Look at all the pleases.
I know. You can't help but love them.
Yeah, I know. Note in this one that most people don't realize, we want you to produce documentation of the method and the policies and procedures.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, as we many times have tried to explain to people when they're doing the policies and procedures, you have a document and you say, these are my HIPAA policies and procedures, but I can't pull what's the procedure or policy relating to 164.514D.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want you to cover it up and give them a whole manual and say, here it is. If you have it all in one manual, they want you to tell them exactly what page and what paragraph 164.514D is handled on. Don't you tell them to go looking for it. No.
So the methodology for assigning, should that be everybody gets access to everything?
That could be it. It could be what's reasonable and appropriate in your environment.
It can be.
So then, now the next one happens in almost every one, and I should really move it to the next section because then we're talking about in almost every single investigation, regardless of what what prompted the investigation. Here is where you start getting into the same stuff over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So next, please.
We're doing the training, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it says, please provide policies and procedures and policies and procedure in place regarding the covered entities training procedures. Please indicate the dates of implementation and any redrafting. Please submit a copy of all training documents and materials developed to comply with this section. In addition, please, that's 3 in one paragraph. Mm-hmm. Please produce documentation of the workforce completion of required training at the time of the incident and currently.
That one alone is enough to throw everybody off.
Yeah.
Because remember on the OCR compliance effort rating that most people were getting these Ds and or 4s, and it was training is generic and poorly documented, and or poorly documented. So now we're really getting into some good stuff, huh? Woohoo!
Yeah, I've got Donna on speed dial at this point.
Well, you know, I enjoy those interesting calls. I just had one earlier today, but sometimes I feel your pain. I'm just really glad I'm not you. So moving right along.
Please submit a copy of the client's name, most recent risk analysis, as well as a copy of all risk analysis performed for or by the client within the past 6 years. If no risk analysis has been performed, please provide a written description of the circumstances.
Yeah. So you can tell I've copied these from all over the place. This is the one that, used to you would only see it in some cases. But now we see that even if it's a paper disclosure. Paper. That's not the security rule. But risk analysis is the security rule. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you can expect to be asked that. And when we say to people, hey, 6 years, you better know. When, we'll remember. Really? Will you tell me what you did 6 years ago relating to your HIPAA compliance security risk analysis? Can you give it to me?
That's probably the last time they did one was 6 years ago.
If
one was done at all.
I haven't had many people be able to show me one from 6 years ago. I'm
having a hard time getting them to show me one. Have you done any at all?
Yeah.
How about that meaningful use thing in attestation from a few years ago?
Let me tell you something. That is freaking people out. I know many people that have had to give the money back. And, we've gotten the request, can you do one and date it 2 years ago? Can you do one date it last year? Can you do one and date it 6 months ago? Can you do one and backdate it at all? No, I cannot.
I can, but the timestamp on my ink, it will not work that way.
So note that they want the most recent one as well as a copy of all of the ones you've done in the last 6 years.
Yeah. And it would be difficult to say that you haven't had a need to do one in 6 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what had happened was that people again assume this has been handled, and it hasn't. And before enforcement, they might give you a little bit of a break going way back, but not really, not anymore. They're tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
So then it gets even more complicated, because if you can't do that, how are you going to do the next one? And this is the one I don't understand, because some people can do one and not the other.
Huh.
I don't get it. Yeah.
All right, so please submit a copy of the risk management plans, which, by the way, you have to have the risk analysis so you can develop the risk management plan.
Indeed.
Please submit a copy of the risk management plans associated with each risk analysis requested above.
Each.
Ooh. So if you've got 6 of them, which I doubt it, but then we have to have 6 of these as well.
Yes.
These risk management plans should describe the security measures implemented by the CE to sufficiently reduce the risk and vulnerabilities identified in the risk analysis to a reasonable and appropriate level to comply with the law.
Yeah. It's the law. It's the law. And again, there's plenty more. So we haven't covered everything, but we have covered many things. And note that at any time, this could show up in your office. So this next piece, though, is the final one we're going to cover. And I see it in almost every one. And this one is where you can't see these questions and not realize they're wanting to classify a lot of things about you in case they need it. Because they always say our enforcement is not designed to put you out of business. It's designed to get your attention and make you do what's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they're going to ask you for your current balance sheets, your current income statements, your cash flow statements, your most recent full year audit financial statements, disclosures, schedules showing the amount due to and from other companies and individuals, and the past 2 years of tax returns and any other financial disclosure statements.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the audited financial statement prepared by an independent accounting firm, including footnotes.
Yeah.
And the disclosure of expenses and amounts paid or accrued to the home office or other related entities. So that, they're wanting to see everything, what your expenses are.
So you call your accountant and he's like, yeah, I ought to be able to get that done in the next couple of weeks. You're like, no.
The clock is ticking. So, list the names of related organizations or persons and indicate where the amounts appear on the balance sheet. Is this accounts receivable, notes receivable, etc.? And 2 years of tax returns. So they got you. Yeah. They're going to know what hurts if they need to use it. And so this is why, again, while statistically this is how you're going to get investigated, it's not an audit, it's a complaint or a breach. That gets you investigated. But you're very statistically unlikely to finally pay. There's very few people that actually pay a penalty or settle with a payment, because they come in and they say, here are your options. You can do these things and we'll call this closed. You just got to, do these things. Or you can pay us a boatload of money.
Pay the ransom.
Pay the ransom. At least with this, you did do something wrong. You didn't just show up and nothing happened. But they have a lot of options it's like before when I remember that panel where everybody's talking about this horrible enforcement and millions of dollars and 2-year plans and all of that. And the banking guy he's looking around. They're like, well, so how do you feel about these things? He's like, we'd be happy if that's all we got. You don't understand. In financials, you're talking 8-year plans and, huge numbers that we get hit with. So it's all relative as to your perspective when they're doing these things. But don't think that even when you answer those 20 things and you get it all to them in 14 days, which, by the way, I will tell you, you can request extensions, but don't be stupid. I'm just telling you, don't be stupid.
Get another year to do this.
Yeah, really. Sometimes they'll give you a day because they're sick of you already.
Wow.
But a lot of times they're going to be reasonable and give you more time when they realize what's going on. But it is very important for someone to create a discussion, open that line of discussion with your investigator who's assigned to you.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
And
Plus,
I would probably go take the passport away from your doctor before you break the news to him.
So the important thing is don't get too comfortable once you finish. Okay, I gave them what I got and I haven't heard anything in a month. That means nothing. These people are covered up in paperwork and investigations. It could take 6 months for them to review that. And then they're going to ask you more questions. Most often, you're going to get at least 2 rounds. I've seen some that are 1. I've seen most of them end up with 2 because they'll follow up and ask questions about what you sent them to clarify or something like that. I've got some that are down into 3. Those are not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't ever get comfortable until it's finally resolved. And boy, the day that it is resolved, we had one group that brought us in the middle of an investigation, and we worked with them and we created plans and all this other stuff. And they were getting very specific financial questions. And then we came back and said, hey, look what we're doing, by the way. Because it does tell you can supply additional information if you think it'll help your case.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of threw some things in on the second request because we weren't there for the first. And suddenly things got a little bit easier to handle. And, they called and they said, well, we think you need to do X, Y, and Z. And they were able to say, hey, look, we're already doing it. And okay, well, if you're truly going to do that, we're going to close this. And they did do it because we nag. And, so we're trying to do those because you expect that the investigation is going to happen. Once you hear it, things are going to come down the pipe. If you do not have the ability to provide these things, they're going to come back and say, what are you going to do to fix this problem? Because it's clearly a problem.
Mm-hmm. So
how do you feel about answering all these, David?
I feel like I need to go to lunch and drown my sorrows.
Really?
Yeah. No, you know what? My thing is this. Even if I have nothing to worry about, even if I can answer all these things, I don't want to have to go through this. No,
because
really.
it takes resources.
I know. And so that, for me, that's the big thing. It's I'm not worried so much about the information they want. My thing is I don't have time for this.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And, it's just a lot of stuff. And, and this also kind of goes into the areas of being prepared. Because some of these things you can't go back and do. Like, okay, I can go back and grab balance sheets and income statements and all that. And I might even be able to go back and grab some policies and procedures that I've done. But if I haven't done training, I can't make that up. Mm-hmm. I can't fix that.
Yeah, that's what, like I said, when we do our business associate due diligence and we hear, when was your most recent training? Last week. When was the one before that then? I want to know.
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it is something that, my presentation, one of the presentations I do is HIPAA's not a once-a-year thing anymore, and that's what people treated it like for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I have my 45-minute training in January. I'm done. And I do that again next year. You can't do this. This is a day-to-day activity to secure your business and protect your clients and your patients.
Yeah. And I imagine you'll have to, if you want to chime in on this, but I imagine that it's a little more expensive when somebody hands you a letter like this than it would be had they said, look, we just want to get these things done.
Well, I'm sure that some people do that. We will, we say, look, we'll help you with these investigations and responding to them, but you're going to pay our standard consulting fees. This is not included in anything else we do.
Right.
We've had people say, look, I want you to do the risk analysis and then I want you to respond to this request. At the same time, while you're doing the risk analysis, go ahead and create this stuff. I'm like, no. Those are two different things. You don't suddenly do a risk analysis to respond. I'd like to do a risk analysis in 14 days. No.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You just can't do it.
Right. Yeah, so it's tough.
Yeah. So it's just better to do it along the way, and it's really, if you do it as you go, it's kind of like keeping your room clean. If you throw your clothes down on the floor and you don't put them in the hamper, eventually you'll start to notice there's a problem. Do it as you go. Keep it neat and clean.
Yep. And filing for bankruptcy is not going to help you here.
Nope. Filing for bankruptcy doesn't help. Closing the business doesn't help. None of those things.
Well, now that we have thoroughly got everybody ready for the weekend.
Oh, no. Let's play some special music. We're ready for the weekend.
Yeah, I know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look, if you are sad that you are now freaking out, just remember, Donna comes up with the show notes. I try to make it something light and upbeat. She wants to drag everybody down.
That's why we work, darling. It's why we work.
Is that what it is? All right. Yeah. So anyway, please remember to follow us on social media and share us out. You might want to even share this one because I'm sure it'll get somebody's attention. Rate us on the podcasting app because there is one. We have an app for that. Check it out. It's got some cool stuff in it. Also, you can get the PDF downloads of our shows and use that for your training. So you can have documentation.
Training documentation. Yoo-hoo!
As always, send in your questions and ideas to contact@helpmewithhipaa.com. Somebody get back with you, most likely Donna. So remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.